But let's go to 1 Kings chapter 21. 1 Kings chapter 21. It's a familiar passage that probably read from quite a bit, and kids are talking about it. We're talking about it, but I was thinking yesterday we were with some family and friends having some fellowship, some food, and conversation got started talking about, people and their character. And a name was mentioned that I had never heard of to my knowledge. I couldn't tell you anything about the individual. I didn't know anything about him. I'd never been in church with him that I know of. I couldn't tell you anything. But there was an individual sitting there that does not go to church. And he said, I can't tell you much about him, but I do know one thing. He's a holiness man, if there ever was one. And I thought about that, and I said, I hope. And this man's still alive. And I said, I hope to myself that folks say that about me. And there's no question mark about where I stand. I hope folks say that about me. But I thought that was pretty. I don't know the man. And matter of fact, I'd like to meet him, Brother Harold. And I don't know if you were out there at the time when they mentioned his name or not. You may know him, but I'd like to come in contact with him. I love holiness people. And how many know that holiness is not just a word?
Right.
It is a lifestyle. Thank you, preacher. It's a Pentecostal experience. And the reason we say it's a lifestyle is because, and it's not what I'm preaching on, but it's just the burden that was on my heart this morning. But the reason we say lifestyle is because what it does to you is a change.
Yes.
It's a transformation.
Right. Absolutely.
And everything in this book is written for a reason.
Right. Yes, sir.
But Tom, it's for instruction. It's for discipline.
Right.
And it's hard to take sometimes, Brother Hodell, but it's for correction, isn't it?
Yes.
Whether we like it or not.
That's right.
It's for correction. And it's for discipline. And it's for example.
Yes.
And it's truth.
Yes. Amen.
It's not confusing. It is what it is.
Right.
And it's the Bible. It's the Word of God. And so I love it. And I don't want to ever be accused or somebody walk away and say, well, I remember when he used to be. I remember when they used to have it. I don't want that to ever be said. I want it to be said right now.
Amen.
Without a doubt. We know what he is.
Right.
Amen. I appreciate the Lord. And I'll be honest with you. I appreciate holiness. I'm glad that there is some kind of guideline for us to walk by and live by. Me and Michelle was talking yesterday about, denomination churches or whatever, and I had, please don't fall out with me, but I went to the barber shop, got a haircut yesterday, and the barber's two boys were there, and I'd seen them several times, but yesterday, they had mohawks down the middle, Brother Harold. One of them was dyed orange, and the other one was dyed red. And then she proceeded to tell us where she went and how that all took place. It was at a church Bible school. And if the girls won, then the boys were supposed to get a do like that. And if the boys won, the girls were supposed to get a do like that. Well, they just made it all even, and they gave that to both. And we were talking about that. And I said, if that's all there was to it, and there were no guidelines, and there were no rules, and there were no regulations, why even bother?
Right. No change.
But thank God today there is. And that's not what I'm preaching about. And some of you probably say, whew, thank God. But it's just what was on my heart today. And I just, when they said that yesterday, they stuck with me all day long. And it's kind of, it kind of goes with what I'm going to preach, but not really, I guess. I don't know. You can draw the conclusion yourself. But anyway, it's good to be in church with you. Appreciate you. And I trust that you'll help us today for just a few minutes. I love preaching, but Sunday mornings are tough because you feel like you're on this, God timeline and all this stuff. But I know that when God gets in it, a long time can seem like a short time, and then of course it can be the other way around too. Brother Don Hale, he said, good preaching is when you have a good introduction, a good conclusion, and you keep them as close together as you can. And so we're going to try that this morning and see if the Lord will help us. 1 Kings chapter 21 and verse number 1, the Bible said, and it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. Naboth said to Ahab, the Lord forbid me that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he set him down upon his bed, turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him and said unto him, why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And when I read verse number 6, I can almost hear a child's voice coming out of a man's mouth. And he said unto her, because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and he said unto him, give me thy vineyard for money, or else if it please thee, I will give another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise, eat bread. Let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. Thank you for standing this morning. I'm going to try to hurry, but I'm trying to be thorough at the same time. I don't know how many times that I have preached this message, evangelizing a pastor. You preach things over and over, but just seemed like this morning, for whatever reason, this was, and it's. I mean, I'll tell you, Brother Mitchell, you asked me if I was fired up. I don't know about fired up, but I sure am burdened about this. I really, the first thing that really troubles me about this is that Ahab lived close to Naboth, obviously, close enough to see his vineyard, close enough to see his garden, close enough to see, and so he liked it. I don't know if he liked it because it was not his, and he wanted it, and it was not his possession. I don't know if he wanted it because it looked better than his. I don't know if he wanted it because he watched Naboth care for it. And I don't know what the whole idea was, but he walks up to Naboth, Brother Jake, and he starts telling him, I mean, we've got a saying. When we do trading, Brother Mitchell, we've got a saying, and it's kind of the unwritten rule or unspoken word rule. You don't price another man's stuff. Okay? But Ahab walked up to Naboth and immediately put a price and a value, no matter what it was, on that garden, and he would do what it took to get it. And Brother Odell, I do not believe he was ready for the response he received from this little nobody standing over here. I don't believe he was ready for it. Because Naboth did not hesitate, and he said, I will not give it to you because it's an inheritance from my father. Hallelujah. Naboth brought to the attention of the king that this was an inheritance. That is probably why Naboth took so good care of it, is because it was something that was handed down to him. It was something that was given to him. I'm going to tell you, we got a generation today that could care less what you give them. They're not going to take care of it. But this man, in this particular setting, Brother Harold, took care of something that was not, listen, this was a place, this was a property that probably he could not have afforded if he would have wanted it. It was an inheritance. It was something that was given him. He probably could not have written that check or went to the bank and borrowed, but it was something that had been cherished and loved and took care of for generations. And now on this particular day, it is in Naboth's possession. He owns it and he's taking care of it. And somebody else wants it. And he said, not for sale. So I want to preach to you here for just a little while a question on what would you take for it? That is the first question that is asked when you walk up to a garage sale, and they call it yard sale. And I don't even understand why people don't sell their yard, but that's what they call it. You know, we walk on parkways and drive, you know, all this stuff. It don't make sense. All this stuff is backwards. But my mama called it rummage, and that makes more sense. But you walk up to a sale, you walk up to a car lot, you walk up to a boat, whatever it is, or a gun, and you say, what do you take for it? And 9 times out of 10, that person, Brother Bill, is going to price it $100 or $1,000, whatever the line is. They're going to price it way more than they really want because they know you're going to ask for less. So you ask them, what would you take for it? And I want to ask you this question. This salvation experience that you have today, you did not pay for it. You could not afford it. You could not buy it, but yet this morning we have it. I'm telling you, that ought to be shouting ground today. We possess something that we did not buy. We own something that we could not purchase. It was purchased for us by the Son of God. Hallelujah. He died. Yes, he did. It's not a fairy tale. It's not just written in a book as a Christmas time story. There's a man named Jesus that is the very Son of God. He bled, died, and rose on the 3rd day. Amen. To give us salvation and to save our sorry souls from hell. And we could not buy it. He bought it for us with his blood. And we sit here today under God's canopy of mercy. I want to ask you, what would you take for it? Now you'll sit there and you'll say, not for sale. I wouldn't sell it. But I'm going to tell you, the devil's got ways. Just like Jezebel. I'm telling you, when I hear her name, I get agitated. Not only of all the other shenanigans that she pulled, but this one right here gets me, Brother Tom. She walks in and finds him on his bed, a belly aching and a boo-hooing. Papa called it getting in the mully grubs. There he was, a whining and a crying and wouldn't eat, stubbed up, wouldn't do nothing. You know why he did that? Because he knew that would get her attention. Come on now. And it did. She walked in there, she saw, and this may not be helping you, but I'm going to try to preach to you here. She walked in, saw him, asked him what was going on. And she said, well, get up. I'll give it to you. Immediately, man, I feel my blood start boiling. First thing, Jezebel, it's not yours to give. Number 2, God gave it to him. It was an inheritance from his father, and it's not yours. But you know what she did? She wrote a letter, signed it with the king's seal, and sent it away. They falsely accused Naboth. They put him up before the judge. Naboth died a death that he was not supposed to die of, and he left behind an inheritance of something that he loved, something that he cherished, something that he would have given his life for and did. And when he died, she comes walking in and said, "Get up, Ahab, go ahead and eat a while. Naboth is dead and the vineyard is yours." So he walks down there to possess something that he never paid for, something that was not his. And come on, what it took? Naboth said, "It's not for sale."
Right.
But the devil's got ways.
Yes, he does.
The devil's got ways. I want you to understand something about inheritance here. It's not a light-duty word. Inheritance is obviously an heirloom. It's generally an estate or a portion. It is a heritage. It is something that you inherit, handed down. It's from a mode of descent. It means to occupy, to distribute. It means to instate, to divide, to have. You got this yet? Amen. It means to give for, or to leave for, or to take for. It means to have, cause to, be made to possess. I don't know about you today, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am so glad to be saved today. And let me just tell you this, being saved today does not make me better than the worst gutter sinner there is out there. But I'm going to tell you what it does. It makes me a child of God, and it makes them a sinner. God help us. But I'm going to tell you this morning, today, I'm glad that Jesus Christ died and shed his blood, and today I can be saved.
Yes, that's right.
I can have something I did not pay for.
Right.
Back to the holiness issue. Bless God, we have to cherish what that is.
Yes,
Yes, Lord.
yes.
Oh, God have mercy, makes me sick across this country, the things that I see. And nobody cares about the things that makes me sick. But while I'm preaching, I'm going to tell you, I've been in so many churches across the country that have taken the word holiness and they can't even spell it anymore.
That's right.
Amen.
Come on.
Nonetheless, it's still right.
Yes, it is.
Lord bless you.
I think about that word, holiness, and that lifestyle. And I think about my heritage. Brother Mitchell was talking about his papaws not having much to hand down and leave as far as possessions. I've got a handful of tools, and I've got a shotgun that I watched my dad open on Christmas morning many years ago. Brand new 1187 Premier Remington automatic shotgun, brand new in the box, both barrels. I'm telling you, that thing, that thing was beautiful, real shiny. I mean, it was I watched it, and while he was opening that, I was opening a 870 Express Remington pump shotgun with both barrels. I'm telling you, we was getting ready for deer hunt now. I watched him open that. Well, over the years, things happen, and that, for however it happened, that gun wound up at my papa's, and I was supposed to try to be getting the money to get it back, and never could get the money. My mother wound up with it. Mama needed money, and she sold it. It wound up in my papa's, my mother's side of the family, my great uncles, and I'm gonna tell you, they use that thing. They scratch it up, all kinds of things, and it winds up back in my sister's house, and one of the boys, the oldest boy, Landon, had wound up with it. I wanted that gun so bad. One day it just hit me, and I called him up. And I had some little extra money. I don't know where I got it, where it came from, but I had a little extra. And I called him up. I don't know what it was. I had sold my trailer. We took that church in Seymour, and I had sold my trailer and had a little bit. And so I called him up. I needed some electrical stuff done. And called him up. I said, "Hey, we've got settled on the electric deal." And I said, "Listen, you got that shotgun that was my dad's and your papa's." "Yeah." I said, "And no disrespect, if you could have met him, you'd have loved him, but you never met him. You never even talked to him. You never saw him. You never saw him. You don't know nothing about him except what we tell you. So typically, that gun just is a namesake, don't mean nothing to you much." He said, "Yeah, you're right. I knew I had it." I said, "What do you take for it?" He said, "What do you give me?" And I named the price. He said, I'll bring it with me. He brought that gun, and I paid for that gun. Whew, man. And I'm going to tell you, it was hard to pay for it. But I was glad to do it because it was his. I got a few tools, and you can't do this in 2019 today because you know identity theft will take over and be bad. But Brother Jake, I got a few hand tools that Dad wrote his name in one of them electric jewel things, and you know, extra whatever they call them. I don't know what it is now. They got something different probably, but anyway, you can write your name on metal or anything. He wrote his name and his social security number all across that stuff. You can't do that today. And I talked to Brother Mitchell about it one time, and he said, well, take that down there. It's broke. It don't even work. He said, take it down there, and he said, they'll rebuild it or give you another one. I said, no, not that one. It's got his name, social security number. I'm going to keep it. It ain't much, but it was his. Listen, I'm going to tell you, we hold something today that is more valuable than any material thing we could ever possess on this earth, handed down from the dearest, closest relative there is. I'm telling you, we have salvation. We have something. My grandpa handed it down to my dad, and my dad handed it down to me. Walked into my bedroom one night. I was just a 5-year-old boy, almost 6 years old. He walked in there and asked me if I was saved.
Come on. Come on.
5 years old? How much not saved can you be? Well, don't ask my mother. She could have told you. But I was born lost.
Yes.
Just as a child. But my dad wanted to catch me early and head me off from that. And it worked. I'm going to tell you something. He made hell so real that night, Brother Jay. I'm going to tell you what, I was so scared when he got done talking about it, but he didn't stop there. Sister Teresa, he went on, and he made heaven so wonderful, and heaven so beautiful. It kind of gives that term, preach heaven high and hell hot, you know. That's exactly what he did, sitting on the edge of my bed that night. He walked out of that room. I should have prayed right then and got it all done. But I pulled the covers up, and I said, Lord, I didn't pray. I said, Lord, if you let me live to the next service, I'll get it done right. I'll never forget that. Next service come around, guess what I did? I made me an altar up there when altar call was made. I wasn't peeking under my arm anymore. I said, Lord, Daddy said I was going to hell because I wasn't saved.
Right. Come on.
That night at that little altar, God saved me as just a child. Right. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. And then as I got older, they began to teach us the right ways right out of this book. I'm telling you, right out of this book.
Right.
Taught us the right way, holy ways of living. Didn't make us better than nobody else. They just simply wanted us to go to heaven. Ain't that what this whole thing is all about, Sister Minnie? Ain't it all about when we die, we go to heaven? No matter when the Lord comes, we go to heaven. Ain't that what this is all about? If that's what it's all about, we've got to do it God's way.
Right. That's right. John 3:16, our kids quote it, we quote it. Sometimes it's misquoted, misused. And the power of it is lost because we've said it so much. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. That whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Yes. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world. He's not out to get you. He's not out to squash us. But that the world through him might be saved. 1 John 4:9, and this was manifested the love of God toward us, because that God sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. Romans 8:17. And if children, then heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. I love what Spurgeon said about this. He said it is neither an earthly portion nor a heavenly portion, but God Himself who is to be our portion.
Right.
You're not getting this, I can tell you ain't. You're thinking about chicken or something. It is not heaven that we're going to inherit. As good as that is, Brother Harold, the streets of gold, the jasper walls, the gates of pearl, and all the things that are not going to be there like the devil and all this stuff. Our loved ones, it's going to be a wonderful, yes, a wonderful, happy place. But Sister Minnie, it's not heaven that we're going to inherit, Brother Tom. It's God. All of our lives, we wanted God. We wanted a part of God. We sought after God. We prayed to God. We've asked God. But when we get to heaven, He's going to be God. We're going to inherit Him. It's not all the rest of that by itself, but it's God that we inherit the thing all of our lives. The Bible says you can't look on God and live. It's going to come a day we'll be able to embrace Him. Ain't that what this thing's all about?
Oh, blessed Jesus. Help him, God. Help him, God.
Glory to God.
It is not heaven we are to inherit, but God, who is infinitely greater and more glorious than heaven itself.
Right.
That's right.
God, help Lord Jesus.
Too many in this hour are losing grip on the love of their inheritance. There's always something seems to look a little more enticing. I want to tell you, you better not put a price on your experience.
That's right.
You better not put a price on your inheritance, because I'll tell you, the devil
Jesus.
will buy it every time.
Yes.
I said he'll buy it every time. You know that you know there's more to this than just showing up for church.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Church pews are full of those kinds of folks this morning. But I'm going to tell you, we were not entitled to this inheritance. But Tom, he didn't owe us this.
Right.
We didn't have this coming. Just because we're born, some folks think just because they're born is that the reason the sun comes up in the morning. They got nothing to do with it. The reason we wake up is because God's mercy. Do we realize that when God so chooses, He can turn out the lights?
Right. That's right.
What would you take for it?
Oh, Jesus. Help us, God.
Now, because of His Son, all of God can be ours. Brother Jake, I don't know why this morning. I love you, man. But I just want to tell you something. Don't put a price on it.
Oh, blessed Jesus.
Be careful,
God.
because the
help
devil
us,
can
Lord.
afford what we couldn't buy.
That's right.